Welcome back to the Rich Couch. I am your host, Deborah Richelieu, and I'm joined by my husband,
Rev Kev, who works full-time for Deborah Richelieu. And we are keeping it going. This is week
This
6.
is episode 6. Episode 6.
Okay, we doing this thing.
Yeah, we're doing it. We're doing it every week. I told you guys every Friday at 7 we're dropping a new video and uploading it to the YouTube channel. So thank you everybody so much who has been following our YouTube channel journey. It's been an honor and just such a blessing to see the comments. I love to see them. And the questions. And actually today's video was inspired by one of the comments I saw in our last video. So we've been in this mini series called the Honeymoon Phase.
Yes.
Just sharing some nuggets and personal experiences of what we learned in our first 1 to 2, 3 years of marriage. And I'm just hoping this would enrich your conversations, enrich your relationships, and enrich your life, especially if you find yourself in that season or getting ready for that season of life.
Yes. So I actually have comments and feedback, ideas that came from different people. We're going to give them some shout outs. But the first person
shout out
is Jay. I'm not
shout out to Jay.
I don't want to pronounce your last name, so I don't want to mess it up, all right? But Jay says, what you guys said about finances would be great to talk about. He says, did you guys consider when it comes to money? This is my money, or do you guys see it as our money in marriage, regardless of who makes more? That's a great thought. So
such a great thought.
Do you see it as your money, our money, or is it based off of who makes more? So that's what we're going to talk about first. It's going to be super organic. So you want to share some thoughts first?
Yeah, sure. I think, Jay, thank you so much, first of all, for your comment on our YouTube mini-series, The Honeymoon Phase. I think that's such a great topic for couples to discuss, especially when you are coming into a long-term commitment. You know, if you have been making your money, you've been working, both of you have been working, both of you have your different accounts, and you've been spending money a certain way. You've been living a certain way. Mm-hmm. So now that you are creating this life together, it is so important for you to start discussing how you view money. How did you grow up seeing money, and how do you want to move forward seeing your money? So for us, I can share, we decided early on, I think an engagement into our first year, we said, you know what, this is our money that we are putting together to impact our family.
When she says decide, we didn't say it was our money while we were engaged. We're saying when we're planning to be married,
right?
The mindset that we'll have with our finances. Because I do think that's a good thought to point out, because I do believe that couples should exercise wisdom. I don't think there's a perfect answer for this, but exercise wisdom as to when is the proper time to start joining the accounts.
Right.
Sometimes some couples join too soon.
Right.
Like it's not official yet.
Right.
And that's a dangerous thing. If you're not officially married, you want to use wisdom to kind of know when will be the right time. You want to seek counsel, maybe premarital, see what some of those who maybe are more seasoned in life can kind of advise you, as well as prayer if you are a Christian, to see when is the right time to make everything joined. Because the worst thing that can happen is you experience the benefits of marriage and you haven't yet made the commitment. And I think that's a very, very important thing, because just because you're engaged does not mean you're married yet. Like he is not your husband yet, she's not your wife yet. So that's why I wanted to point that out. Not to nitpick, but it's part of, I'm detail oriented.
Yes, he is.
But so we decided as an engaged couple, when we got married, we would view it as our money.
Right.
So you can keep going. Just wanted
to
point that out.
Good. I'm happy you pointed that out. The clarity was when we were engaged, we already started talking about how we want to join our accounts after we get married, instead of leaving them separate. Prior to us getting married, we had 2 separate accounts.
Right.
After getting married, we joined our accounts.
Right. And I think the reason why that was important for us is we didn't want finances to be like a source of disagreement or a way that we can just a crack. So we figured for us, since the Bible says to become one, right? We figured the finances should be one as well. Now, Because what could happen is if I have my own account, she has her own account, I could be doing my own thing. She could be doing her own thing. It becomes a source of conflict because, hey, what you're doing over there that you feel like you can't tell me over here.
Right.
We're going to break that down a little bit more. But so we thought for us, it'd be wise to make it one account so that we can be discussing that one account. And also for us, some of you may know this, but there's two views of, I might talk a lot on this one, but sorry, y'all, I just have a lot of stuff to say.
No,
This is Rich Couch, Deborah, I work for her, remember, but I might say a lot on this one. But there's two prevalent thoughts that have to do with marriage. There's the egalitarian and the complementarian approach. So the egalitarian approach to marriage is saying the man, is the head, the leader, and has to kind of dominate in a certain way, that there's things that are manly, that are attributed to what men should do. In that egalitarian mindset, they'd probably portray that the male should be the breadwinner. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just giving you information. The complementarian approach is that we're approaching marriage as we're both contributing based off of strengths and weaknesses. It's not about like who's over who. Now the Bible does talk about the man is the head of the home and stuff like that. So that's not what this is about. But the complementarian approach is, hey, the wife could be the breadwinner or the husband could be the breadwinner. The whole point is there's one team, and however we can get our goals, like we talked about last time, however it is that we can win, let's bring it together. And if you're the one leading in finances and I'm supporting, then that's the case. Or if the male is the one that's leading in finances, then that's fine. So those are two different views. You want to decide as a couple, which approach are you wanting to have in your marriage? Is it going to be more of an egalitarian approach where there's things that the male should definitely do that's going to be attributed with general masculinity and what makes a man feel like a man? Or do you want to approach it more from a complementarian approach to where we're going to attack this together? If you want to be, like I made a joke the other day, if you want to be the one who drives, it don't mean I'm not a man. You know what I'm trying to say? So it depends how you want to approach it. Right. So our marriage consists more on the complementarian side. We do have a lot of egalitarian things into it, to where I do believe that the male is the head of the home and should be the leader of the home. But leaders are not necessarily meant to be usurping or asserting power over their wives, but it's like provision and direction and just ensuring that I'm taking responsibility to ensure my home is being raised and developed in such a way that truly reflects the character of Christ and reflects principles that hold true to our values. So I do believe there's a key role that men are supposed to play, even in society. But I don't think that takes away from who women are, because having a strong woman is important, and I know there's feminism and all kinds of these things, but that's not what this is about either. But the point is that there are strengths that the husband and the wife bring to the table. They both bring. And if the wife has a strength that the husband is weakened, it's no point of the husband trying to prove his strength if the wife is strong in that area, and vice versa. Right. So that's why that other part of your question, Jane pointed out, is like who should be making the money and who's the breadwinner? Is it our money, or is it who works harder? And I think because if we do come into it agreeing that we're one and we're not going to be trying to dominate the other person, we're here to serve one another, then it shouldn't be my money, her money. My money, his money. Yeah, it shouldn't be that power struggle if there's an understanding.
Kind of like we shared in a previous video, this is Team Richelieu. So whatever we're going to do to help Team Richelieu win, we're going to approach it in that fashion. So I like that you pointed out that we have more of a complementary relationship, and we both work, we both put money towards our account, towards the Richelieu account, and we both contribute to bills. So that's how we approach it, and we're not saying this is the way to approach it. This is just our way, and this is the way that works for us. Right.
And just, if you can, put the money together. We strongly advise it so you can be on the same page. And maybe this is a little organic. Dave Ramsey, we're gonna bring him up a lot. Talks about how each family should be having a family monthly meeting, family meeting. So even if the husband or wife is strong in the finances, it's still important for the family to come together to talk about their finances. Because now when you have that family meeting, you're also then, whenever you have children, you can teach them, hey, mom and dad have this family meeting, what is it about? So that they can in turn have a family meeting with their future families and whatnot. So we do that. Actually, we do have a family meeting. We do. My wife hates it sometimes.
I sure do.
I love it.
I am not the financial expert. I'm not the financial guru.
Me neither. I'm not either.
And I don't get excited talking about finances and planning that out. But that is something that, you know, do you get excited about talking about finances?
I do, actually.
Yeah, he gets excited about it.
I do.
It is something that he looks forward to every month. And some of my single friend Esther, she said she wanted a shout out, so I'm gonna give her a shout out. She always laughs when I talk about, girl, I gotta go to my monthly budget meeting. But anyway, sorry, I gotta fix this hair. By the way, hair by Josie. But anyway,
help me.
So yes, we have a financial monthly budget meeting.
Right.
That we both sit through and we talk about the finances that are up and coming, projections, and then we also talk about how we spent our finances the month prior. So the whole point of it is communication. We share this in our communication video. I think it is so important to just be openly talking about your finances. And you know, statistics research shows finances is one of the top reasons why couples divorce. So I think it's another area where we can just be open, we can be honest. If you overspent, if you have some money coming in somewhere, just communicate, share with your partner, share with your husband or wife about your finances. Is so important. It's so important that it has caused couples to split. So if it's that important, we should be discussing how we, manage our finances.
Absolutely.
Whether you do it on a monthly basis, some do it on a weekly basis. I was meeting with someone, she said her husband checks the account daily. I was like, whoa.
Right.
Daily. So I don't think you check it daily.
Right. No, I don't. I probably every other day or every 3 days. But definitely, like Deb says, the monthly helps.
Yes.
Just to realign.
Meetings.
And remember, it's Team Richelieu. So if one spouse makes $20,000 a month and the other spouse makes $30,000 a month, right? It's not. And when you're thinking about how much do we make as a family, it's not I make 20, she makes 30. We make 50. Period.
Make 50.
That's
what
right. Right. Keep the ego low and say, hey, look, it's not about who's better than the other person in terms of how much money they make, but we both contribute. And we do. And the Bible does say, if you don't work, you don't eat. So if you're very capable, you get the knowledge, put that to work. And we don't want to advocate saying because we're saying one person makes more than the other that the other person shouldn't apply themselves to utilize the resource that's been given to them to maximize it as best as they can. You want to jump on another one of the couples things? You want to go into what you got? Which one?
Sure. I think the other thing that I was thinking of was financial goals. I think you should discuss with your fiance, your wife-to-be, husband-to-be, what are your financial goals? I think it's an excellent conversation so you can know, are they planning to save? Do they save for a vacation every year? Are they involved in their company's 401k plan? Is that something they're interested in? How much debt do they have? Are they paying off their debt? So I think that is such a huge thing to think about, especially if you're already accustomed to a certain lifestyle. Because if you're accustomed to a certain lifestyle, and it's another shout out to my friend Esther, she takes a trip to Europe every summer. The new hubby coming in, can you sustain or elevate my lifestyle? That's something you should talk about. Don't just assume going into it that your spouse to be or fiance is okay with how you currently spend your money, and they may be okay with it. Not a problem. We could take 2 or 3 trips to international countries per year, or maybe they may not be. Maybe they may be very conservative, or So
you gotta talk about it. You
gotta talk about it. You just have to communicate. This is how I do my finances. What are your financial goals? Are they aligned with mine? Do they challenge my financial goals? Challenge me to be a bit more aggressive in my savings or paying off my debt. Or also, I want to discuss debt just really quick. us coming into our marriage, we both came. We got married a year after graduating college, so we both came in with fresh financial debt from our undergraduate years, and for us, we were okay with that. We knew our situation. We were well aware of it, but this is, I think, to complement the financial goal. We both had a goal to pay off our debt. We were like, you know what, we need to pay off our debt. So we were both of like-mindedness in that area, which is good because some people believe in paying off debt and some unfortunately don't. Or some people are like, yeah, we could just drag it out for as long as we need to. Whatever works for you. But we were determined to pay off our debt, and we had individually started that process, and now that we came together, we're like, okay, how can we help pay off this debt? How can we get a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more serious about paying off our debt? So I think that's something, again, to discuss, communicate. We had a great couple that we were connected to. He had paid off all his debt, like thousands of dollars, maybe $30,000-$40,000 of debt prior to getting married. And they came to that crossroad. They had to have a serious conversation because she was coming into the marriage with debt, and he had just paid off everything. So, of course, they still end up getting married. But again, that had to be part of the discussion. That had to be a part of the conversation. Okay, what do you have coming in? What do I have coming in as far as financial debt? And how are we going to tackle this together as a couple, as a team? So I think that is something that you need to discuss. You know, a lot of new grads these days are coming out with financial debt. It could be credit card debt. It could be school debt, maybe medical debt. I think it's whatever it is, you need to discuss it, be honest, and then come up with a game plan of how you're going to tackle it together as a family, as a unit, so you can eliminate that debt.
Right. All right. I guess on that note, we'll continue giving Dave Ramsey a shout out.
Sure. Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey. I'm gonna say that for later. Let me just go to this couple. All right.
Okay.
Shout out to the Augustins. Right?
Yes.
Angel and Delaney.
Angel and Delaney.
We love y'all. They are the bomb.com. Got married last year in March. So they're married for a year in April, May, June, July, August, like 5 or 6 months or so. They're great. But they had brought some thoughts because I asked some of them, hey, as a newlywed, what are some things you feel couples should know going into marriage, having to do with finances? Or some things maybe you would have wanted to discuss more, or maybe what's working for you or what's not working for you. So shout out to them. And what's good about this actually is because it's some counsel for maybe those of you who could be married to a pastor. It gets real cool. But all right, so there's something called clergy taxes. Oh yes, right.
Their taxes are different.
Right, because they were mentioning, okay, how does tax write-offs work? Especially if someone's a clergy. Now, why this is good is because it's very connected to those who may be married to someone who's self-employed. So self-employed taxes, clergy taxes gets very complicated, very, very complicated. So number one, I encourage study how self-employment works. You could look into a clergy tax accountant, which I highly recommend.
Yes.
Or the tax person has to know how to manage someone who has their own like business or they're self-employed, because the taxes are completely different. So tax write-offs, I don't know everything about it, but we know a little bit about it. Tax write-offs. So typically the way the IRS processes it, generally speaking, is what does it take for your business to run? So for self-employed. So are there certain essentials? Is there equipment? Is there certain things that's needed for that business to up and run and be functional? You can't just make up stuff and say I'm writing off my taxes. The similar thing with the clergy taxes is what are the things as a pastor that it takes to run ministry? So the way that they do tax write-offs is the IRS will allow for people to write off taxes on things that have to do with their business or have to do in the ministry roles for their ministry. So for example, if my wife, she's launching a business, decides to buy a laptop that's specifically for the business, then that could be a tax write-off because it's going towards the business. It gets real complicated, but the whole thing is integrity. You don't want to be like, yo, man, I'm writing off $100,000 and it's not really going towards like the actual self-employment or towards the ministry. It's just for your own good. That's not the purpose of it.
Right.
But the purpose of it is to say, look, being that the operations of your business is a little different from just maybe working a 9 to 5, then how do we ensure that it's fair to say that these are being contributed towards the business and you have the government backing you up to be able to say, I'm gonna write this off of my taxes. The other thing that we learned with that is tax refunds. So growing up, I always looked at it as like, yo, I want to get a big refund check, right? And that refund check, y'all know about that. But generally speaking, I'm not an expert in this, but you can look into TurboTax if you don't have complicated taxes. But the thing about tax refunds is that in the beginning of the year, when you are working, they have you sign that, that paper that no one ever knows how to sign properly. Like, am I claiming one person, 2 people, but one year you had a whole bunch of tax money and the other year you didn't. But the whole idea is you're saying how much of your check do you want, how much taxes from your check do you want to be withheld? So when you get paid, how much of the taxes do you want to receive up front, or how much do you want to pay later? So the thing is that if you decide that you want to receive, let me say it the other way. If you decide that you want to save those taxes to where you want to get that tax refund later, then your check will be less. So now when the taxpayer period is done, it's time for you to finish all your taxes, you get this refund because you decided, I want to allow the government to hold on to these funds for me that I've worked for, and now I'm going to receive it at the end of the tax period. The other way that we do it is you can decide, I want to get all of my money up front. But when you get all of your money up front, just know on the other end of it, you might not have a big tax refund.
Right.
So I've always misunderstood that. I'm not the expert here, so there's a whole bunch of research you can find on it. I looked at it as the lower my tax refund is, the worse I did with how I filled out the paperwork. But the idea is, depending on how you process it, a good goal is to get your tax refund to be $0. You want to have a good balance of how much money you're getting through the IRS on your paychecks and your salary, and not maybe taking in too much. You want to try to get it to be 0. So if your tax refund is 0, it's good because you're balancing how much you're receiving, through the taxes and how much is going to the government. It's not just a big, whatever the opposite of a deficit is, but it's not a big amount later and it's not a big payment later. But people still owe taxes. We often still owe taxes, so you're not like a terrible person if you owe taxes. Not that we owe taxes now, but at the end of the tax pay period, we sometimes have a balance to pay. That's what I mean by owe taxes. But I do encourage you, pay your taxes. Pay your taxes, right?
Don't be like they said on the rich couch not to pay taxes.
Right, but there's tons of resources on how to do tax write-offs and tax payoffs. And some people, what they do is actually every month, they print out their bank statements. And then and what they do is every transaction, label each transaction to say what did these transactions go towards. Mm-hmm. So if this was going towards a business, I'm going to make that mark because there's something called tax audits. Y'all know that. Mm-hmm. So any moment the government can decide to audit you to see if you've been properly filling out your taxes. So if you didn't do it properly, you don't want to be in trouble with the government. But if you've been accounting for it properly, then you can ensure that you have a record to keep that safe. Other thing that they brought up was investments. And buying your first home. So we definitely encourage investments because we don't want to just be working forever. We want to have retirements. Right? One mistake I made, and I'll bring this up. One mistake I made is I opted out of Social Security thinking it was going to be a good thing. But what we did as a replacement was the amount that actually, when someone advised us with it, which is good, the amount that goes to Social Security, I think it's 11% or 13%, you can still deduct that amount and put that towards retirement. Right. So if you did do that, it's not too late for you, especially if you're self-employed or whatnot. The idea is you want to be saving towards retirement. My wife, she was able to do rollover. She did a rollover IRA, which by God's wisdom and some close friends of ours that helped us to do that, just to make sure that there is funds going into our retirement for the future. Right. We encourage that. We know that we can't control the future, but we want to be wise to say that we want to save, we want to invest. Right. And the reason why there isn't retirement funds over just savings is the interest rate. So if you just put money in the savings, that interest rate is going to probably be like 0.0000 something. Mm-hmm. But retirement and mutual funds, these other things have a bigger interest rate that allows that money that you're saving to accumulate more over time. Right. I think the other thing that I have here is.
Oh, and I will jump in here and say if your company matches your 401k, participate, okay? Because I did not realize how much of a benefit that is to you. So go ahead and make sure you participate in that.
Y'all see how bored my wife is with
Also,
this topic?
oh
She
yeah,
hates this topic.
and
She's
also, yeah, I don't hate it. It's just it doesn't do it for me. It's not. Anyway,
if you're enjoying this, put something below. Keep it going. Put right in the comments. Keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it going. To show my wife that it's a good topic.
Enjoyed this conversation. But I will say, going back to communicating about the finances, when he opted out of Social Security, I was like, wait, what? I didn't know that until we were talking to an advisor. And so that came out very raw in the moment. So again, if you're going to opt out of certain things, or if you're making adjustments to, different benefits that you're going to partake in or not partake in, please communicate with your spouse. That would be good for them to know. All right.
Absolutely. All right. They also want to talk about buying a first home.
First home. Okay.
Yeah.
First time home buyers. We were so blessed to be first time home buyers in our 20s. And I really encourage you to take a class. There's so many classes, so many cities offer it. We did it online, and it's usually an 8-hour course to be a first time home buyer. You learn about lenders, real estate agents. You learn about grants that certain cities offer. Again, I'm not your financial expert or your guru, but do your research. There's so many different grants and opportunities. Great organizations in South Florida specifically that do help with first-time home buyers. Shout out to the Urban League. They offer a first-time home buyer course every month. So there's so many different opportunities for you to learn. Learn as much as you can before becoming a first-time home buyer, because there is so much information and there's also misinformation and scams. So you want to make sure you know your stuff before you make such a big decision together that will be affecting you, affecting your credit, affecting your life. So very, very important. Make sure you take a first time home buyer class so you can learn about all the different aspects and the roles and the key players as you look into becoming
I'll give some stuff. I know my wife don't want me to talk about it, but I'll give you some. But I won't make it as long, so please don't be bored. She's bored. She's kicking me. She's kicking me under the camera. Pre-approval. I'm not gonna go through everything. It's just good stuff. I encourage you, if you are in that place, you want to look into buying a home, there's nothing wrong with walking through the pre-approval process.
Yeah.
The pre-approval process is not the final approval. It just allows the bank to see all your expenses and all your assets to see what can you qualify for.
What can you qualify for?
As any other loan, just understand that whatever you can qualify for, they usually will quote you at something at the max, and you don't want to go with the max amount. So if you qualify for $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000, you don't want to buy a house for $400,000 or $300,000 or $200,000, right? I forget what the amount is. You could Google actually and look up the amount that they recommend from the percentage from your finances that should be going toward a mortgage. You could Google that. But a pre-approval is super important. You want to see how much you qualify for before you start getting deep. One of the things my wife does, she's a dreamer. She starts looking at all these houses and we don't even know what we can qualify for. So it's like, Deborah, not that I want to kill your dreams, but we don't know yet, because the pre-approval process helps you to kind of do that. Now, other thing one of our loan officers told us, which was very, very wise, you want to shop for your mortgage first.
Oh yes, that was
shop for your mortgage before you shop for your house. You want to know at the end of the day what you could afford.
That is so
and that's
true.
super important. And one of the things that we did is when we looked at our budget, we didn't go and say what's the maximum amount that we could afford. We started at the minimum to say, okay, like, we don't got to go and say, whatever the most, the best, everything, but what's comfortable for us in the event Deborah gets married. What's in the event one of us loses a job? Like, what's comfortable for us? And then work our way up, because the next thing that you want to understand, you can Google, as Deborah said, is property taxes. Property taxes, property taxes, property taxes.
Those
you
property
could find
taxes.
You could find a house that has a great principal and interest, but the property taxes could be out of the roof. Google property taxes for the different city limits that you want to move into, because you want to see that, can I afford, some property taxes could be like $10,000 a year, and that's not your principal or interest. So just make sure you do research on property taxes, and like I said, budget. There's so much more, like Deb said, you can look it up. But that's just to say the least. Now, I want to give a shout out to the Ulysses.
Yes.
The Ulysses, Reggie and Sophie. Right? They're about married now for July, August, like a year and 2 or 3 months.
Over a year, yeah.
And their advice is, I think the beginning, it is important to discuss all streams of income and what each person is currently financially responsible for, which is good.
That is so
I also
good.
think they say it's important for each person to discuss how do they like to budget and start budgeting together as soon as possible, which they said we discussed. I remember we talked about the importance of budgeting and setting time to do it, so setting time to budget. And then it says one thing, maybe giving couples a sample budget sheet tool. So if you guys know of any budget sheet tools, throw it in the comments, things that may be working for you. So that's good advice from the Ulysses, and thank you guys for that. Super good. You want to talk about you want to do the next one?
And then I was going to share. Yeah, go ahead and
the Josephs. Shout out to the Josephs.
Lewis's.
Oh, Lewis's. Oh, she wanted to be a Joseph. You remember the Lewis's? Josu Lewis. Right. The Lewis's.
Yes,
Josu Lewis and Jessica Lewis. I know she wanted to keep that last name, but let that last name go. Let it go. But they are about to be married for a year, so their anniversary is popping up. Give a shout out to the Lewises. Throw in the comments. Shout out Lewises.
Shout out to Jessica.
So they said they're very transparent. We're still learning, but one thing that they would say is learning to budget as a couple and not just for one. Right? For example, going out to eat as a single person versus going out to eat together. Woo.
That is so true. Let me tell you, some restaurants that you would just splurge on yourself, and then you see the bill when it's the both of you, and you're like, wait, how much is this?
It's true.
That's true. You really have to rethink.
Yep.
When we were very strict, when we first started our Dave's Ramsey journey, we would just share a plate. Or sometimes you just have to say no. Sometimes you have to say no to eating out, or just one of you go to that event or whatever, that event would be,
right,
and that you would be spending money. You're spending double the money whenever the both of you say yes.
Right.
So that is a really good point, and we learned that quickly because we are social. I'm more of the social butterfly, but we are social. We're new in ministry. We're like, someone tells us you want to go out to eat. Of course we want to go. Let's go.
You see that bill, boy?
You see the bill. You're like, wait a minute. Let's keep piling up.
It's not a single bill.
And it's not a single bill. It's a couple bills. You get, dessert. I get dessert. You getting entree and, appetizer. And it adds up. And for some people, they may look at this and laugh and be like, that doesn't apply to me. But the people that I know, is definitely something that, to consider, to talk about. Because all these things, add up. Now that there's two of you spending, your money.
Pretty much everything times two when you eat out.
Everything times two.
All right. I think here, now is just some practical stuff before we wrap out here. Just some resources. So some resources here. Mint.com, you could use that.
Mint.com.
Yep, mint.com. Another one is Every Dollar. Every Dollar is good as well. Or old school Excel, you could use that, which is good.
This is your Excel guy
I love Excel. I do. Or you could Google Sheets. But what I was mentioning earlier that I said I'll bring up later is David Ramsey. He talks about baby steps. Thank God that we did do the Financial Peace University. We encourage couples to do the Financial Peace University.
That was so helpful.
Baby steps. I have him briefly here. He says first he encourages every family to save $1,000 or single. Save $1,000 just to get started, just to have something saved.
For the emergency fund.
Yep, to get that emergency fund started with $1,000, right?
It comes in handy. Make sure you have an emergency fund. We have experienced emergencies. It helps knowing that
AC goes out,
AC
the car,
went
the
out
alternator,
twice. AC
the car
went
battery,
out twice.
Yep.
Car battery went out. So emergencies will happen. So instead of freaking out or getting stressed out, make sure you have an emergency plan set to the side, some emergency dollars.
Then he talks about after saving $1,000, go jump on the debt snowball where you start paying your debt, the smallest to the greatest, so you start building momentum.
Kevin had fun with that.
Yeah, actually it's fun. It's just when the loans get real thick.
big.
It's like,
Yeah,
Jesus,
the
I don't know
small
how much.
ones are like, oh, this is fun.
It's like a game.
Knocking
It's like a
it
video
out.
game.
Yeah, yeah.
Then he says a fully funded emergency fund, which is having 3 to 6 months
3
of
to
all your
6 months.
expenses. Then he says invest 15% of your income into retirement. Save for children's college fund. Pay off your home early and build wealth and give. That's what the Dave Ramsey baby steps, which is all over the internet. You could check it out.
Right.
A few things also, like we said, we do the monthly family meeting, Excel. We do use every dollar. You know, one thing that was good for us is the cash card. Ooh,
The
God,
cash
thank you for the cash card. That's
from
the
Cash App.
Yeah, and it's free.
From Cash App. So what happens is, you know, everyone has a Cash App on their phone, which I love Cash App. But you can also do this, because part of Dave Ramsey's plan is, instead of just spending your money frivolously, I don't know how to say that word.
Yes, you do.
But I like that word. Frivolously.
Yep, you got it.
There we go. Plan to have a certain amount towards spending money. I love spending money. By the way, if you haven't guessed already, this is the saver, this is the spender, or Financial Peace says this is the free spirit, this is the nerd. But I have my nerdy moments too.
You do.
But anyway, so with the Cash App card, which you can order for free, you can send, what you can do is say, okay, you're going to have this amount for spending. You're going to have this amount for spending. And you send it to the Cash App card. And it's similar, if you've done the envelope process, it's similar to the envelope process, but obviously with a card. According to Financial Peace, all the money, you know, that you're going to spend that month, they usually put it in envelopes, like eating out envelopes, grocery shopping envelopes, gas money envelope, spending money envelope. But instead of walking around with so many envelopes, we're just like, let's try the Cash App card. And that was such a cool idea for us. Because I would get a message, ding, and I'm like, oh, I got my spending money for the month.
Right,
my Cash App card.
Right. Like Deb says, so you can use the cash card if you want as a certain types of expenses that you want to spend on, whether it's spending or groceries. So once it runs out, it's gone.
Once it's gone, it's gone. That's
Another
the saddest
thing-
part. When it's gone, it's gone.
Another thing that we're actually working on is a meal plan service.
Yes.
So
yes.
there's HelloFresh, there's Blue Apron.
Blue Apron.
I heard about another
Deliver
one.
Lean.
Right.
Deliver Lean.
So we're actually trying to see. I'm trying to see if I got the other name. I don't got the other name.
And those services are for if you're really busy, maybe you're a new parent, or you're just two working people like us, and you're always running in and out of your house, and you don't want to. Oh, I don't know what happened to lighting. And you don't want to, be late up at midnight trying to cook for the whole week for your family.
Every plate. It's called Every Plate.
Every plate.
Yes.
So these are just different services that you can put that in your budget and say, you know what, we're going to invest into a meal delivery service.
Right. And then we also are in the process of working towards life insurance.
Yes.
Super important. I know we don't got time to go into everything.
We don't have time to go into
we do
everything.
tithe. It's a value of ours.
We do
and
tithe.
We do tithe
so
off
we
the
give
gross.
to our church.
We tithe off the gross.
We tithe
And
off
that's
the
a whole
gross.
other conversation.
That's a whole nother conversation for another video.
But I know I gave a lot of stuff, so my wife's probably gonna kick me off the next episode. She's like, yo, you ain't doing your job. You stay in your lane. But
no, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But anyway, that's pretty much a lot of stuff. There's still other resources you can look into. But the whole key is what remember that dude told us at Southeastern? You want to be financially equally yoked.
Ooh.
Remember that? Because you don't want to be financially unequally yoked with somebody. So it's like, yo, how do you handle your finances? Because we're going to be yoked together. And if we don't have the same mindset or willing to have the same mindset or be willing to humble ourselves and compromise.
I think that's the key.
It could be a mess.
As long as you are financially equally yoked, you have financial goals, you discuss your financial goals, you have plans for home ownership, plans to cover your debt or pay off your debt, plans to improve your credit or to keep your good credit, in our case. So I think it's just important to just communicate what are the financial goals, what are the financial plans, and how are we going to, be financially yoked in this new relationship. So I think that is everything in a nutshell. We kind of cramped it all, but thank you again to Jay, who helped us kick off this conversation and how we, discuss our finances.
And just before we go, definitely RIP to Chadwick Boseman,
yes,
the Black Panther.
Yes,
definitely was sad, and we just thank God for his legacy, the many lives that were impacted.
Yes.
And we just pray his legacy continues, and that we continue to hear how he lived his life, to see what we can learn from him, even while we're still here. So
absolutely,
definitely RIP to Chadwick Boseman. Right,
yeah,
that
was really hard. Shout out to Chadwick Boseman's precious family in the loss of a legend, a hero in real life, not only on screen. But one thing about his life that really touched me is learning that he had dealt with colon cancer for the past 4 years, and really, no one knew about this. The public didn't know until the day of his death. So I think it's just a reminder for us to live our life with purpose and intentionality with the time that we all have left.
Absolutely. Yep.
Wakanda forever.
Yeah, absolutely. But thank everybody for
thank
on
you
the Rich
all
Couch. We want
so
to help
much.
people enrich their conversations.
Yes, we want to help you enrich your conversations, enrich your relationships, and enrich your life. So don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and share with family members and friends. Thank you for so many who've already told us you're sharing with different people, either at work or at your church or in your family or with your spouse. And I'm just so excited to hear that these videos are encouraging rich conversations. So keep it up. See y'all later.